Thanks for joining us on this edition of Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-eun in Seoul. Before we get started, let's first get a quick check of today's highlights. The OECD head of the Korea-Japan desk speaks about the ongoing restructuring in Korea's major industries and gives advice on what new fields should be cultivated. With new duty-free licenses to be issued this year to meet growing demand from foreign tourists, retail giants are gearing up for another round of competition. These stories and more coming right up. Discussions are ongoing between Korea's number 2 shipper, Hyundai Merchant Marine, and foreign ship owners to lower charter fees and cut costs in a bid to stay afloat. Our Kwon Jang-ho starts us off.
It's a negotiation that could make or break the future of Korea's second largest shipping company. Hyundai Merchant Marine is meeting with 5 foreign ship owners in Seoul on Wednesday to ask for a reduction in charter rates as it tries to dig itself out of a mounting debt crisis. Hyundai recorded a loss of over $200 million last year alone, and in a deal made with its creditors last month, it promised it would renegotiate its charter fees with foreign ship owners in order to stave off bankruptcy. Hyundai has a total of 116 ships, 83 of which have been leased from foreign ship owners at a cost of $830 million. It's looking to receive a 28% reduction in charter rates, which would help cover a large chunk of its recurring annual losses. Agreeing to a reduction could be considered the best option for the ship owners as well.
If they were to take back the chartered ships due to recent difficulties in the shipping economy and slowdown in global trade, those ships could end up not being used at all. So rather than having that big waste, they might be open to renegotiating the current contracts.
Being so heavily dependent on chartered ships, Hyundai Marine may have to enter court receivership or face bankruptcy if the current negotiations do not go through. That's why it's said to be looking to sweeten the deal by offering shares to make up for a cut in charter rates. A tentative deadline for negotiations are set for Friday, and Hyundai is hoping to at least come out of it with a verbal agreement. Kwon Jang-ho, Business Daily.
In the 5th ministerial meeting for deregulation, President Park Geun-hye emphasized that there will be no new opportunities for growth and job creation without deregulation. Seoul has continuously pledged to remove as many regulations as possible, leaving only those deemed absolutely necessary. The government has also promised to lower barriers for new industries to levels similar to those in most advanced countries to guarantee that Korea doesn't fall behind in the global market. With this, developing drones and testing autonomous vehicles on the road will become much easier. And the government will also build up a national network for IoT or Internet of Things, which will make it the first in the world. And this push to strip back excessive regulations in new industries comes as Korea's exporting sector, the country's conventional growth engine, weighs down the economy. Government efforts are underway to restructure problem sectors, but what else needs to be done? Our Hwang Jae sat down with Randall Jones, head of the Korea-Japan desk at the OECD.
Korean policymakers appear determined to find a way to rescue the country's ailing shipbuilding industry. Do you think the government is taking the right approach?
Well, I think it's inevitable in a market economy that over time, some companies need to be restructured. There's technological change and various trends that mean some companies grow and expand and some companies shrink and sometimes eventually disappear. So restructuring is an ongoing process in a market economy. Given the size of companies, it's very important that the social welfare system is able to cope with any unemployment or job losses that result. So it's very important that restructuring be done based on market principles and that the social welfare system help the people who bear the direct effect of the restructuring.
Some other major export industries like petrochemical, steel are also suffering from dwindling global demand. Should they also go through major restructuring?
Well, we see a lot of excess capacity in the global economy in these sectors that you mentioned, and partly in China and partly elsewhere. So I think around the world there has to be some restructuring going on because the excess capacity is not viable.
So Korea will have to eventually find new growth engines and will have to reshape the overall corporate landscape. Do you think there is a specific area that Korea should focus on in terms of that issue?
Historically, Korea's great high growth era was built on exports and manufacturing. But now we need to focus more and have two engines of growth. We need to have the service sector become very productive. If you look at labor productivity in the OECD countries as a whole, services are 90% as productive as manufacturing. In Korea, services are 45% as productive as manufacturing. So there's a great scope, a great margin to narrow that gap and make the service sector more productive. And so that could be a second driver of growth to keep Korea growing and improve the quality of life and the level of income. So I see that as a real opportunity for Korea.
Is there a specific advice that you would like to give to the Korean government regarding how to foster service industry? I mean, the government is already trying very hard, but it's not really bearing any fruit. So what kind of recommendation or advice would you like to give?
The government tends to focus on key service industries, but the goal should be overall to make a better framework. Regulations in Korea are relatively high compared to other OECD countries. Our indicator of regulation shows that Korea is the fourth highest. And if you look at services versus manufacturing, there's 4 times as many regulations in services as in manufacturing. So what we need is to reduce the regulations that limit productivity in the service sector, reduce entry barriers that make it difficult for new service companies to start up, and we need to improve the financing situation for new startups. Korea is based on a bank-centered finance system, but we need to move more and more towards a investment-based system with investment by business angels, for example, people putting in equity in startups. And we need to create this new, more friendly system for new startup companies that will become very productive. The companies that are most productive are the new ones because they come in with new technology, new organization, new ways of doing things. And so promoting the entry of new startups, which will probably be mainly in services, is the way to really try to boost the productivity of services and boost the overall Korean economy.
All right, thank you so much for your time today, Randall.
All right, it's my pleasure and I enjoyed it very much.
International crude oil prices are hitting fresh highs amid hopes of an easing in the oversupply. On the New York Mercantile Exchange, West Texas Intermediate for June delivery closed trading at $48.31 a barrel, up 1.2% from Monday. This is the highest it's been since October 9th last year. On London's futures market, Brent crude for July delivery also closed up at $49.28, up 0.63% from the previous day. Dubai's crude oil has been on an upward streak for 2 straight days, closing at $44.48, up 0.47% from the day before. Reports about a decline in crude stocks boosted investor sentiment. And a Reuters poll of analysts said U.S. crude inventories likely fell for a second straight week. 4 foreign auto brands have been ordered to recall nearly 4,000 vehicles here in Korea. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport said BMW, Mitsubishi, Scania, and Volvo will offer repairs on 3,743 cars and heavy-duty trucks. Over 1,700 BMW cars made between June and September 2014, and about the same number made from July 2015 to January 13 this year, have been cited for various safety-related defects. BMW will offer free repairs at its service centers. Volvo will recall over 200 dump trucks made between September 2014 and last September 2015 and provide free repairs as well. Mitsubishi will continue its Takata airbag recalls, and Scania will carry out recalls to fix an issue with seats. The latest, brightest, and smartest of all things related to information and communications technology has been brought together under one roof. And our Kim Ji-yeon takes us to the World IT Show 2016 here in Seoul.
Under the theme Connect Everything, more than 450 companies are taking in this year's World IT Show to present their latest tech products and developments in the IT convergence sector. This includes everything from virtual reality, Internet of Things, and smart cars to cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and big data. And with this year's show, it's all about user experience. Every popular booth and corner provides visitors a chance to see for themselves what it's like to live the smart life, as seen in the 360 corner provided by Korea's tech giant Samsung Electronics.
Samsung Electronics featured its waterproof Galaxy S7 Edge and its Gear 360, which can capture 360-degree videos.
Many visitors are also jumping on the opportunity to try out the VR Experience Corner.
I have the VR headset at home, but it's a totally new experience with putting them on with the moving 4D chair.
The show is also a major event where local IT experts can scope out what's next for Korea as one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world.
Nearly 9% of Korea's GDP relies on the ICT sector, so it's needless to say that the country needs to continue to keep its position at the top. But in order to do that, I think it's important the government keeps its word on deregulation in the tech industry.
The 4-day event is hosted by the Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning and is sponsored by the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy. They've pledged to work with related ministries to help cut the red tape that's currently hindering Korea's ICT development. Kim Ji-yeon, Business Daily.
Korea's biggest tech giants increased their R&D investment in the first 3 months of the year in an apparent move to foster new growth engines amid the global economic slowdown. According to Samsung Electronics' quarterly report, the company spent more than $3.2 billion on research over the cited period. Its ratio of R&D investment to sales stood at 7.7%, up 0.3 percentage points from a year earlier. Samsung recently revealed the industry's first 10-nanometer level DRAM chips. LG also upped its research investment by about $3 million from a year ago, as it plans to tap deeper into the vehicle components business. And Shinsegae has become the latest retail giant to join the in-city duty-free store lineup, showcasing some 600 brands, including numerous high-end designer labels. The new duty-free store is located within Shinsegae department store nestled in the shopping district of Myeongdong in Seoul. With the goal of posting sales of roughly $1.3 billion this year, the retail giant entered the lucrative duty-free market back in 2012, opening a store in the southern port city of Busan. Shinsegae currently operates stores in Busan's Kimhae International Airport, as well as the nation's main gateway, Incheon International Airport. And following Shinsegae, Tucson will also be opening its duty-free store this week, which means all 5 of last year's in-city license winners will soon be open for business. But what about those that weren't so successful in keeping their licenses? Our Eunice Kim has more.
SK Walker Hill Duty Free has closed its doors after 24 years in business. Luxury watches, jewelry, bags, and makeup are packed up, even as management looks to reopening, if it's successful in winning back its expired license in round 2 of the government's open competition later this year.
We expect it will not only save our staff's jobs, but also create more jobs. With this in mind, we'll prepare thoroughly to greet our customers again.
Lotte Duty Free at the conglomerate's newest tower is facing a similar fate at the end of next month.
We're hoping the process of selection will be swift to minimize any delays in reopening and negative impacts on attracting foreign customers.
Duty Free has been one of the rare bright spots of a souring retail industry in Korea. The world's largest tax-free shopping market by revenue posted $8 billion in sales last year, despite the summer's MERS outbreak, which had tourists canceling their plans in droves. This year, the government anticipates duty-free revenue will jump by 29%. From Duta Duty Free's 9 floors of tax-free shopping to Shila's 60,000 square meter Yongsan shopping mall, the newest crop of outlets are set to amp up the already fiercely competitive sector. And a handful of conglomerates are priming their proposals to join them. In addition to SK Networks on Lotte, Eland and Hyundai Department Store are zoning in on Hongdae and Coex, respectively, neighborhoods being discovered by Chinese tourists. The two conglomerates both came in at the bottom of last year's license judging, but still hold potential with years in fast fashion retail and department store experience. Of the competitors eyeing an outlet in Seoul, only 3 conglomerates and 1 mid-sized company will walk away winners. Companies have through June to apply, after which 6 months of judging will commence. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more business news that matters to you. Until then, goodbye.